Call to order the Avon Town Council meeting for July 14th, 2022. Please rise, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Julie, would you mind taking roll call, please?
Steve Eisenbarth.
Present.
Aaron Teveba.
Present.
Robert Pope.
Present.
Don Loudon.
Present.
Greg Zuzin.
First item on the agenda, something pretty awesome, swearing in of new officers. Chief Stoops.
Good evening, and thank you for being here this evening. Thanks to all of you for being here this evening as well. This is a pretty awesome occasion. Anytime that we can add new officers to our team, to the Avon family, it's a great moment, not just for our department, but for their families and our community as well. The first officer I'd like to recognize this evening is Daniel Rooks. Daniel, you want to come on up here again? Right here, you have to face the crowd for scrutiny. Anybody that recognizes this man that doesn't feel like he should be a police officer, please speak now. I have to give Daniel a little bit of a hard time, but one, because we love him dearly, but because he's coming back to our department after being gone for a while, and so we're extremely happy to have him back. Just a brief biography on Daniel. He's 34 years old, graduated from Griffith High School in 2008, graduated from Trine University in 2012 with a criminal justice degree in psych. He graduated from the Federal Law Enforcement Academy in 2013. He worked as a special agent for the Office of the Inspector General for the United States Postal Service. And then he came to us in 2015 and worked with us for about 5 years, graduated from the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy. In 2020, he decided to pursue his career as a school resource officer when the Avon Community School Corporation started their police department. And he spent the last 2 years there working as a school resource officer. He's married to his wife, Kaylee, the two-year-old daughter, Paisley. They're here tonight as well. He has some goals to become a criminal investigator and wants to continue his focus with youth mentorship and education. When I look through the applications, I always read the handwritten portion because I think that tells some of the most insightful information about the applicant. And since I already knew Dan, I kind of knew a lot of this stuff, but there's always one sentence or one quote in there that always touches the heart a little bit. And at the end of all of his paragraph that he wrote, at the end of it, he wrote, "A return to Avon PD would be more like a return home." And I felt like that summed it up. So welcome home, Dan. We're glad to have you back. The next officer I'd like to recognize is Sean Miller. Sean, you want to come on up? Sean's 25 years old. He graduated from North Putnam High School in 2015. He studied criminology at ISU, and he's a graduate of the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy from 2020. He's worked at Mooresville PD for the past 2 years. He's engaged to Jess. She's here this evening as well. You're going to meet her in a second. Sean has goals of becoming a canine officer, becoming a drug interdiction officer, a firearms instructor, and someday even a supervisor. I have one funny story about Sean. Sean actually built the fence for Dan before they ever even knew each other through his dad's construction company. So that's kind of a little bit of a really weird situation there. But when I read through Sean's paragraph that he wrote in his application, this one sentence kind of summed up everything, not just what Sean wrote, but really what I've seen a lot in all of our new officers and applicants that we have. And he wrote, I look forward to having an opportunity to prove myself in all that I have said in this letter. So everything that he wrote, he didn't just write it to try to win us over. At the end of it, he wrote in there that he was thanking us for the opportunity to prove everything that he just had written would be true. So that was really good. I like that. Go ahead and stand over there, Dan. Our ceremony tonight's going to be presented by Judge Mark Smith from Superior Court 4. Go ahead and ask him to come on up. There he is. He's going to probably want to say a few words, and our people who are going to pin the badges on, if you want to come on up and stand next to Dan and Sean. Come on up. All right, Judge Smith.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite back, Chief Stoops. It's always good to come back and participating in this ceremony. It's something I enjoy doing. You know, we all live in a world where police work is under an unprecedented and unrecognized level of criticism and scrutiny. And so it's always, the level of, or the number of candidates who are applicants who are applying is diminishing, and Assistant Chief Nugent tells me the number of applicants keeps going down. So it takes a great amount of fortitude and bravery to step up and not only place yourself on the line for the type of work that you're going to be doing, but in a world that we live in now. The oath that you're about to take tonight is certainly an important oath and something I'd encourage you to remember the words that you're about to repeat. But two things that I really want you to remember. First of all, it takes way more courage to wear the badge and to have it pinned on you than to attack it from afar. And so just always remember that and carry that with you. The second thing is that if you adhere to that oath that you're about to take and stay faithful to it, you'll never have to worry about those attacks because you'll always be doing things the right way. Okay, Dan, looks like we're going to do you first. You want to step up?
Any family that wants to take pictures, please feel free to step up. Take pictures too.
All right, raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Daniel R. Rooks,
I, Daniel R. Rooks,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
perform my duties
perform my duties
as a law enforcement officer for the town of Avon,
as a law enforcement officer for the town of Avon,
impartially,
impartially,
fairly,
fairly,
and to the best of my ability.
and to the best of my ability.
I affirm
I affirm
that I will enforce all ordinances and laws
that I will enforce all ordinances and laws
and follow all legal directives
and follow all legal directives
and policies
and policies
prescribed by the Avon Police Department.
prescribed by the Avon Police Department.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Up. Okay, raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Sean M. Miller,
I, Sean M. Miller,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
perform my duties
perform my duties
as a law enforcement officer for the town of Avon,
as a law enforcement officer for the town of Avon,
impartially,
impartially,
fairly,
fairly,
and to the best of my ability.
and to the best of my ability.
I affirm
I affirm
that I will enforce all ordinances
that I will enforce all ordinances
and laws
and laws
and follow all legal directives
and follow all legal directives
and policies
and policies
prescribed by the Avon Police Department.
prescribed by the Avon Police Department.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thanks, sir.
It's kind of customary that someone very special and close to you pin the badge on you for the first time here at the police department. So if the two of you want to go ahead and try to do that without injuring them, because we need them. We always frame the oath of office that the judge signs and the officer signs, because throughout their career, they're probably going to get some awards. They're probably going to get some letters of commendation and letters of appreciation. But those are all neat to hang on the wall. But the most important one that they're going to hang on the wall is this one right here. So, thank you.
We're going to take a small 5-minute recess. Call the meeting back to order. Next item on the agenda is consent agenda to include the check register for July 14th, the approval of minutes from the June 23rd meeting, and the performance bond release.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
One moment. We got a first by Aaron,
I'll second.
second by Steve.
Okay.
Give us 1 second for Julie.
Yeah.
Jared, do you want to, think you can handle this one? You mind doing a roll call?
Fun. Oh, wait, no, here she is. Right here. There we go.
See, she does more than just pay bills.
I was showing all of our officers where the food was. Sorry.
Oh, good.
All right, where are we? Roll call?
We have a first by Aaron and a second by Steve. And take roll call, please.
All right, Robert Pope,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Steve Eisenbarth,
4.
and Aaron Tevabaugh.
4.
Next item on the agenda is first of 2 public comment opportunities. You may comment on items on the agenda that are not a public hearing or on a specific matter within the council's jurisdiction. Please come forward to the microphone, state your name and address, and limit your time to 3 minutes. Seeing no mad rush to the microphone, we'll close that section of public comment, move on to department updates. Who's running to the mic first? Mike's already standing.
Good evening, council. Mike Tully, Planning and Building Director, Town of Avon. We had a pretty consistent month in June. Sorry for the lateness of getting the report to you. We're just busy like normal. But there's not a whole lot to highlight. We did get the permit issued last month for the new first building for Avon Landing Industrial. So that did come through. Last month, Mr. Zuzan had asked for occupancy rates, and you'll note that I added that in my report. It should be the very last page, where it has occupancy rates for the apartment communities in Avon. And not surprisingly, all of them were over
90s.
95% occupied, if not 100%. And Laura Finley did a really great job getting all this information from the apartment communities, and they were actually very helpful. And most of them have waiting lists. So that's good new news that we didn't know. As I normally do in my monthly, I keep track of total number of inspections, of building departments done, and we're at approximately 9,600 inspections for the year already. And last year, I thought we were busy, and we were about 3,000 inspections less at this time last year. So we're getting very busy this year. So, and on a final note, I'm going to work with Bill Peoples, and there's going to be a new report or attachment to the monthly, where what we're going to do is we're going to take the buildable lots report, which is actually 3 pages long, and we're going to condense that down so we can show the neighborhoods that are active. So if they have one vacant lot on them, we're going to keep them. But if they're new, that way you can see what is growing right now.
That sounds great. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Mike?
Good.
Yeah,
Thank you,
looks
Mike.
very good. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah, thanks much.
Mr. Peoples?
Hello, how are you? Bill Peoples, Planning Director here for the town. Uptick, just like Mike said, we've had an uptick in code enforcement inspection, so Daniel's been, his priorities shifted from GIS to code enforcement. Probably be that way through the fall. It's just the same as when the grass starts growing, then Daniel starts getting phone calls. As far as the Board of Zoning Appeals is concerned, we have nothing on the agenda for this month. There are a couple things hanging out there. The Schaefer Building, we did get an inquiry over there about redeveloping that site with a coffee shop of some sort that needed a drive-through. So we anticipate there'd be maybe a couple filings for the August meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals, but that filing deadline is next Friday. So I don't have a idea of what August's BZA agenda will be. This month's Plan Commission, fairly busy as usual. We have 6 items on the agenda for a hearing. Of those 6, probably about 4 of them are relatively benign requests. RISE is coming back for yet another time, try to get their waivers approved. So I'm hoping that we'll have that one settled. I mean, it's been 3 bites at that apple so far at the Plan Commission. I think that they have something that the Plan Commission will be happy with. A couple of expansions of auto dealers for an auto service use. Andy Moore Kia and Andy Moore Volkswagen want to put on it's relatively small, so they're just big enough. They just went over the threshold to avoid administrative approval of it. So it's big enough where the Plan Commission has to sit in and take a look at it, but not so big that it's, that it's crazy big, the doubling or tripling the size of the building. The good news is August has 3 items on the agenda on the Plan Commission, and that filing deadline is closed, so the Plan Commission will have a regular meeting finally. We're relatively small, and that includes the one that's continued from this meeting at all. That's it. That's all I have. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I appreciate the light agenda.
Yeah. In August.
In August. Mr. Taylor,
Yes, sir.
your turn.
John Taylor, Director of Economic Development. Update on buildings that are under construction. The DRG building on Ronald Reagan, 791,000 square feet. I believe they've been speaking with a potential tenant. Chicago Industrial down on 100 South, their 880,000 square foot building. They've got a signed lease for 2/3 of the building, and they may end up taking all the building. And they will begin construction on their next building, which is 1,009,000 square feet within a month or so. Avon Landing, I was up by there this afternoon, and would you tell me 8,000 square yards of dirt? Was that the number? They've moved about 8,000 square yards of dirt. If you haven't been up there, if you go up there on a windy day, be careful. It's awful dry up there right now. But they'll be beginning to build their first 2 buildings, 200 and 300,000 square feet. DRG came in at the last meeting of the council, received an abatement on their next building, which is 250,000 square feet. And then I'll tell you about the READY grant. I understand we have some people wondering what's going on with READY, and I really wish I could tell you. I will tell you what I know. One, we have another meeting tomorrow. There are some regions in the state that are already working projects through READY, and we haven't. Our region hasn't started any. And one of those reasons is that our region was made up when READY came about. When the state came to us and said, find a couple of the counties and make a region, and well, they didn't say that we had to come together and that we had to set a board together. We had to put articles, not incorporation, I can't think what it's called, maybe Dan knows, but I mean, we had an awful lot to do before we could even get started. And it's 6 counties. What we plan to do in Avon is put this towards the infrastructure in Easton Gray, in the front end and in the HOPA housing. We're hoping to get somewhere between 600,000 and $1.5 million. We don't know what we're going to get because it's people at IEDC will make the decision where the money goes, who gets what. I believe if all the ducks are in a row, that we will get something. We probably won't know that for another 3 or 4 months. But the regions that are already working projects are regions that have been together for 15 and 20 years. They're already incorporated, they're already got a full board of directors, and we didn't have any of that. You know, when we first started, our very first meeting, we had the person that was running the IEDC at the time, Jim Staten, came to our meeting and he said, you don't want to partner with Marion County. Marion County is getting their own $400 million, and they're not going to give you any of it. So if you partner with them, all you're going to do is kind of be out in the cold. Well, a meeting about maybe a month and a half ago, we were meeting with IEDC and they said, why didn't you guys choose to partner with Marion County? And we said, because your leader told us not to do it. And they said, no one from IEDC would have told you that. We said, oh, yes, we were. We were told in a meeting, and every one of us said, yes, we were told not to partner up with Marion County. Marion County would kind of do their own thing. So we've got these 6 counties. We call it the 180 Alliance because it's 180 degrees of the west side of Marion County. And we've all got projects. And hopefully in the next 3 or 4 weeks, I'll be able to say to you, our project's been accepted, but we need to understand that this is a reimbursement situation. They're not just going to say, you get $600,000, I'm going to send you a check, John. They're going to say, as you get this stuff built, as you build these things, send us what you pay and we'll reimburse you. But we have to spend the money by December 31st of 2025. So we've got 2.5, 3 years to spend the money. I don't think we'll have a trouble spending the money at Eastern Gray. We're prepared to do what we need to do, but rest assured, this isn't something that's falling between the cracks, and we're still doing what we're doing. It's just taking longer than we thought it would. Other than that, I think, you know, I talk in terms of economic development and setting the table, and the table's now set. We have buildings to show, and you know, we're going to get that $10,000 grant from Duke Energy, and on the 2nd of August, we have site selectors coming to town, and we will do a 4-hour entertainment thing, take them around and show them the community, and sit down, lunch with them, and tell them all about what kind of projects we're working on and what the community is doing. And I'm going to point to our town manager and say, because of him and the five people that are our town council, that we really are open for business, not the way we were 4 or 5 years ago when I got here. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you.
Jared? Mr. Wade?
Good evening, council. I'm Jared Wade. I'm the communications director for the town. Just a few things over the last month. First, earlier this week, we kicked off, and when I say we, I'm talking about the town of Avon as well as Washington Township. We partnered together to put together the Greater Avon Citizens Academy. This is a 9-month-long class that Karen Utley and myself put together. So this last Tuesday was the first class. It was all about leadership and financials, exciting stuff. It's riveting. It's great information. But Ryan and Julie came in and spoke on behalf of the town, and Don and Britt came from the township. We were here for a little over 2 hours. Really great engagement. The class size is just about 10 people, and great questions, great engagement. Really looking forward to seeing that class evolve over this year and see what comes of that throughout the rest of this year. So appreciate the assistance from the township partnering up with that and just making that possible. Second, our emergency notification system is just around the corner from launching, Civic Ready. I had another planning meeting with them just a day or so ago, and we've got a lot of the templates created. Now the process that we're in is those that have already signed up for notifications through our current website, we're going to migrate those over so that way you don't have to sign up again. And that's what we're doing right now is we're migrating all those different subscribers over. So we're going to have not only emergency notifications, but Parks and Rec notifications, roadwork notifications. So that way when something shuts down, because unfortunately we don't know about a road shutting down until when it's shutting down, and we want to make sure that we get that information out as quickly as possible. We're going to be able to use this system to send a text message, an email, or even it'll actually call you if you want. It'll call you and it'll pick up the phone and it will talk to you and say, hey, there is a road thing happening at this location. We want to make sure that you're aware of that. So that's going to be rolling out officially. You're going to start seeing some modifications to the website happening over the next week and a half to 2 weeks, just visual modifications. And then our self-hosted e-newsletter has been going on since I first started. I'm really proud of it. It's been growing. We get on average around 400 to 600 views on that. So that's purely people that have signed up that want to view it. This is not something that we are paying and it goes out to an unlimited amount of people. These are numbers that we can actually take a look at and know exactly what's happening. So we're excited that we're getting those numbers. We're excited to be able to include members of the community in that as well. Lastly, I want to give a shout out to the Parks and Rec team. The Night at the Park happened just a little over a week ago. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to be here, but I was able to hear a lot of feedback from the residents, and it was very positive. It was very encouraging, a lot of excitement, a lot of smiles emojis, a lot of thank you for putting this on. So I just want to give a shout out to Delbert and Tiffany, as well as the entire Parks and Rec team that was up there, as well as the volunteers that came from Town Hall, from the police department, and anybody and everybody that was able to come out and participate in that. So well done to the Parks team. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
No, thank you.
Thanks, Jared. Chief Stoops.
Thank you. Thank you again for allowing us to do the swearing ceremony at the beginning of the meeting. I know it takes a little bit of time, but it's a very special occasion for the officer as well as their family and as our Avon family as a whole. So thank you for that. You should have before you the monthly data highlights for our statistics. As you can see, we're pretty much right on track where we have been for calls for service, to be on track for about 16,000 calls for service this year. I'm not going to go into great detail there. If you have any questions about any of those, most of those numbers have stayed consistent for the last several years, so we're somewhat pretty pleased with that. Moving on to our hiring list, as you know, we had a final list of about 30. We just swore in 2 officers tonight. We have another planned conditional offer of employment, and if that goes through, that still leaves us with the 3 additional vacancies that we are still trying to fill off of that list. Our background investigators have done a fantastic job. They have worked day and night on the weekends. They've come in on their days off to work on stuff to help get those background investigations done. The downside to that is sometimes those background investigations exclude people from the process. So as of right now, I think we're down to about 16 people remaining on that list of 30 to try to get the final 3 from, hopefully. So we're trying to remain positive so we can get the remaining vacancies filled from that list. Earlier this week, we conducted active shooter training for our police department. When we did that in conjunction with our partners at Kingsway Christian Church this year. We usually try to pick a different building somewhere in the community to train in, so that we're not only becoming familiar with that building itself, but it also offers a change of environment for our officers to become more aware of, and if they're ever called to that particular facility as well. Our training lieutenant, Steve Barton, did a fantastic job putting that together and coordinating all that. We want to thank him for that. Our Citizens Police Academy will graduate on the 26th, next Tuesday. So I'd like to invite all of the council members and anyone else from the town staff that would like to be there to recognize them and thank them for their participation. Earlier today, we submitted our body cam grant reimbursement to the amount of about $30,000. So we expect to hopefully get that reimbursement back pretty soon to help offset that cost. National Night Out is August 2nd. It's coming up pretty quick. Deputy Chief Nugent has been working feverishly to get all the logistics planned for that, as he does every year, and we thank him for that. And can't wait for that event to come. Hopefully it's going to be just as good, if not better, than all of the ones in the years past. Our Indiana Crime Guns Task Force that we're a part of, to date, they've seized over 142 firearms. They've made over 200 arrests, both state and at the federal level. But the more important statistic that I want to bring to light is the number of NIBIN leads. And NIBIN is the database that they kind of track all these firearms through. So all these firearms that they've entered this year so far, which is over 2,000 that they've encountered on the street, they have been able to tie over 1,100 leads to different crimes that those specific firearms were tied to. And it could be Indianapolis, it could be Hamilton County, it could be Hendricks County, it could be anywhere in the state or even the country for that matter. So we really want to commend them on the hard work that they've been and the long hours they've been putting in. I know Detective High has been putting in about 60 hours a week at least ever since he's been on that task force. And I keep asking him if he's tired, are you ready for a break? And he just keeps saying, no, I love it. And he just keeps plugging away. So we thank him for all of his efforts and everything that he's done there. Detective Case Elkin has finished some of his basic detective training. He's been out doing drug interdiction for our department, as well as he's beginning the process to start to work with the Brownsburg team as well. He just told me tonight, he had a big smile on his face, but he always has a big smile on his face. So I said, why are you smiling bigger than you usually do? And he just had a pretty good arrest this evening involving some narcotics. So he's pretty proud of that. And we want to thank him for his efforts in doing that as well. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
What time is the Citizens Police Academy graduation?
We'll start at 6 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Mr. Moore.
Good evening, Steve Moore, Public Works Director. Some things going on in our department. We're got out the correct seal and preservative seal bids. We'll accept those until the 26th, get those awarded out. Edica's wrapping up our community crossings design. That's that $2 million project that we'll get done this year. We're doing a bunch of asphalt paving. I'm gonna keep going like this. All right, here we go. Oco is making good progress on our trail project. You know, the project that we have going along 200 North, some along Dan Jones and 625. So they're making decent progress there. Artistic Tree Touch Service is doing our annual right-of-way tree clearing. So all along the town, especially along bus routes, they're trimming back trees in the right-of-way. So they're doing that. They're also taking out some other trees that were problems for us. Found one the other day that we didn't know about that had been growing into one of our storm inlets, and it's actually lifting the casting up off the ground. It's kind of cool. So they're doing that for us as well. 100 South reconstruction. They're almost done with the storm trunk line finally, and then they have some inlets and structures to put. They're getting ready to get some more grass in, so it's starting to look even better. They've mowed some of the project, and we actually took over mowing the stuff that's been in for about a half a year or so. So we started doing that just this week. Dan Jones Phase 1. Phase 1 should bid in November this year, so we're looking forward to that one. Stormwater utility quarterly billing just went out, and we've had a lot less activity than we've had in the past. We made a lot of improvements to the process, and it seems to be paying off. So we're happy about that. MS4, we have ongoing inspections. Drew's doing a great job with that. He's taken on more responsibilities than just the MS4 stuff. He's helping Keaton with signs and doing pothole patching and things like that. So he's providing a lot of good service for us. Let's see. Street sweeping, we did our spring cleanup, but they're going to come back and touch up some areas that we found that we weren't real happy with. And they're coming back to do that this next week. Let's see. We do have some training coming up. Keaton and Drew are going to do flagger certification here. We do a lot of work in the roads, and I want them to be certified. And in fact, it's open. Each budget will have to supply its own, or each person will have to go through their own budget, but it could be opened up to other people in the town too, Brian. As we just found out today that the guy will come on site. And so we're going to have that happen probably in about 2 weeks. So when I get the date, well, we'll share the date, but if we have other people that want to get the flagger training that we think we might need, we can do that. And I think that might be it, except for I have one more thing. I need to take some heat. So they closed down 100 South without our knowledge this week, a couple days ago, and it hit the fan. And I normally will stop them and chase them off the road, but I let them keep going because it was Citizens Water doing some taps for the industrial sites, and we had a hard time getting them out there in the first place. Had I stopped them, they would have had to reschedule us, and then they would have had to done it during school. And I thought the lesser of the two evils was to go ahead and let them go ahead and get the work done rather than have them come back when school's in session. So that's my bad. So.
How long will it be down, Steve?
They should be done tomorrow.
Thank you.
And Steve, Dan Jones Phase 1, when's it look like construction will start on that one?
I mean, normal is April 15th of the, we have a winter exclusion, and so it probably won't start till April 15th of the following year generally.
Thanks.
Thanks, Steve.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, thank you.
That's it. Next item on the agenda, council comment liaison reports. Ms. Loudon.
Well, attended the chamber lunch in which our illustrious leader, Ryan, was the keynote speaker. And then also the Hendricks County Hospital announcement that they had with their announcing their partnership with Mayo Clinic.
Thank you. Mr. TV Ball.
Yeah, a lot of great feedback about the 4th of July celebrations. I appreciate everyone who helped out with that from all across the town. And Redevelopment Commission meets on Monday.
Thank you. Mr. Eisenbarth.
It was enjoyable to watch the Plan Commission. Robert, you and Greg were doing great up here, sit up here in these same positions, I think. And that first case went, about an hour and a half?
It was a little too long.
Yeah, it was, from an audience standpoint, you guys got the cushiony chairs up here, but over there, it's a little harder. So, no, seriously, I thought it went well. Good questions were going on, and I thought from the audience standpoint, it seemed like what I saw is people, they felt like they were being heard because we had some controversy going on. So that was good to get everything out. So I thought that was excellent. Besides that, a couple of questions that came up just now. The NDOT training modules, Ryan, do you know if anyone on staff still needs those? I had those 2 that I provided, but if anyone needs any, oh, I'm sorry, Steve, I should have asked you that. If there's anyone that needs any more modules, let me know.
Yeah, Drew's starting to take them now as well. So Keaton and Drew are both going through them.
Just let me know, which ones, and I'll be glad to. I've got study guides is the reason I asked that. Okay, sure. The National Night Out also on that, I understand we're going to be promoting the website and the alerts. I won't plan on, unless you want me to, I won't plan on doing roadway public safety, but if you want me to, I can do that. I don't feel like I have to do it. And it'd be nice to take a year off, but Ryan, should I put you on the spot or should we?
Well, we love having you there, Steve. At least someone can talk to people about roads, but if you'd like the year off, that's up to you.
Okay, all right. I'll get off and then let social media just start roasting me otherwise, so that'd be good. Okay. I think that's all I have.
Got a few things. First, want to ditto what Jared and Aaron said about the night at the park on July 2nd. Great event. Thank you to everyone who helped make it memorable. Chamber board meeting, the highlight of that meeting was the review of the Hendricks County Rib Fest. They estimated a couple thousand attendees for the event and ultimately was a success. The township board meeting, usually this is Greg's liaison post, but I wanted to learn more about the fire department, and so I attended as well. They are scouting their next fire station location for future planning. Seem to be targeting around the high school as well as the northwest of where East and Gray will be going in. A bit of interesting info. They should be able to hire the full 4 firefighters per apparatus by the end of this year. That's recommended by the National Fire Protection Association. I think I said that right, NFPA. So great job to the township leadership and that fire department. And the last one, a bit of good news. The collaboration group co-signed a letter this past week in support of Chris Tincher for his next franchising opportunity. Chris is just such a wonderful community steward, and we were happy to support him. Next item on the agenda, introduction of Cityscape. Ryan or Bill presenting it or shooting straight to the petitioner?
I think normally on these, we just shoot it straight to the petitioner and let them do their presentation.
All right. Petitioner, please come forward.
All right, there we go. Thank you, council. My name is Evan Bryant. I'm the Director of Land Acquisition at Cityscape Residential. Maybe. Okay, there we go. Just a little bit about Cityscape. We are a luxury multifamily developer based here in Indy. We're vertically integrated. We have our own design, development, construction, and management team. Our partners have been developing around Indy for 30 years. We also develop in Kentucky, Missouri, and Kansas. Again, strictly Class A multifamily. That's what we do. Just a few projects that I can highlight that you may have seen pretty recently. Down in Plainfield, we have the Ascent. This is where we held our neighborhood meeting a few weeks ago. Glad to see a couple of you show up. That was great. As well as Aria up in Zionsville. These are both very recently completed projects. And then on the board, we have Nexus over in Noblesville. This is an old marsh site that we are redeveloping. We just started leasing a couple months ago. We're filling up. We should finalize construction here at the end of the summer. And then the Stedman and Carmel. This is one that we should be breaking ground in later this summer. This is over by Market District and the Bridges development. We're very proud of what we build. I think we build the highest standards, finishes, quality, and we want to bring it to Avon. When I first started at Cityscape a little over a year ago, I was immediately drawn to Hendricks County, immediately drawn to Avon. I think we heard the demand on the apartment side. We know it's here. The next question was, where can I go? I started reaching out to brokers, calling landowners, scoured really the zoning map, the GIS, everywhere. And I was led to the site that we're at currently along the Ronald Reagan, just south of 100 South. What excites me about Avon, obviously the great things that I don't need to tell you about Avon, schools, the community, the growth, retail. You drive down 36, it's unbelievable what's happening. You guys have a Raising Cane's, which, thank you, I'll be driving to Avon with my wife at least once a week now. It's amazing the growth out here, and we want to be a part of it. Also, access to hospitals, jobs, the airport. It's just, there's so much going on. We need to be here. And I think our location here on the Ronald Reagan offers that. I think it allows us access to everything in the heart of Avon, everything that East and Gray will bring in the future, as well as everything south and everything north. I just think it's a perfect location. I also think it fits when you look at just kind of the transition between you have industrial to highway to single family neighborhood. I think typically, and I'm not a planner, but I think a planner would probably agree, multifamily is usually a good transitionary use for the site. Also, the site itself is actually pretty unique, and I'll get into this in just a second. There's wetlands that subdivide the property in 3 or 4 different kind of tranches, which is a challenge, an expensive challenge, but I think it offers us a very unique landscape for our potential residents, advantage to do something really cool rather than just building in a field. Finally, we've tried to engage the public as much as we can. We held a meeting at Ascent last month. We had about 100 letters go out. We had seven residents attend, as well as a few members of the council. We've met with staff, council. I've had conversations with the chamber and CRGA, trying to get as much feedback as I can. Some initial feedback was including a commercial parcel. I know there's a lot of talk out there about incorporating commercial and industrial retail along the Reagan. We've added a 1 acre commercial parcel to our kind of our initial plan, and then we're still addressing drainage concerns. Again, the site it's quite a challenge, and again, we're just trying to take advantage of the site as best we can. So what we're presenting through PUD, currently proposing 304 units, all 4-story product, elevator product. The mix is studios, 1s and 2s, no 3-bedroom. Currently we're about 60% studios and 1s, 40% 2s. The multifamily parcel is 17 acres, and we're carving out a little over 1 acre for commercial or retail. I think the thought is probably have a 5,000 to 10,000 square foot retail building there. We've shopped a little bit of what the interest would be. I think it's a great location. Once we have our beds, our units there, I think that will attract a lot of retailers. Projected rents, again, this is to be determined based on market. We are market rent. I will say we'll be the newest and, in my opinion, the nicest apartments in Avon, and I would expect our rents to reflect that. Current zoning is C3 and the Ronald Reagan overlay, and we are proposing a PUD. Currently, we're hoping to break ground late this year, early next year. Obviously, we have a lot of work to get there, with a delivery summer of 2024. Just a few of our proposed amenities and unit amenities. This is pretty typical of all cityscape projects with a few newbies. Post-COVID, conference room, business centers, these are huge. Our residents need these with so many people working from home these days. Fitness center, fitness on demand, resident lounges. A new one is pickleball. This is the first site that we're hoping to implement that. Pickleball, you guys know it's all the rage. Indoor bike storage, fire pit, pool. We truly want to have the most amenitized projects in the area. And then unit amenities as well, pretty standard for us: washer, dryer, wood floors, nice appliances, elevators in the buildings, garages, storage units. Again, we want to build the best projects we can. Just a little bit about the site. Again, I've mentioned its challenges. I do think some of these challenges are opportunities. We will be building a new road on Veterans Drive to connect to the DRG development, which is currently under construction. They are building a lighted intersection, which we will tie into. Again, it's an excellent location, close to job centers, the airport, downtown Avon. It's a great transitionary site. I've covered a lot of this already. And I think it'll be great to add the additional retail space. I think it's a good amenity for our residents. And then these wetlands, again, it's a challenge, but I think we can take advantage of it and make a really cool site, a really unique project with these wetlands. See if I get the laser right. I'll zoom in here in a second, but there's quite a lot of water that runs through the site. Again, the challenges: the creek and wetlands that separate this parcel basically into 3 separate pieces, and then the addition of Veterans Drive that basically breaks it into a 4th. Challenging soils because of the water, that there are a lot of challenging soil conditions, especially on the north side of the lot. And all this adds up to significant costs, but that's okay. I think we can make it work. And not only can we make it work, I think, again, we can utilize it to make a better project. Again, just a closer look at our location. You can see DRG. This is a pretty recent photo. DRG over to the west is building their industrial complex. You'll have a lighted intersection here with Veterans Drive that we will build. I'll zoom in on our site plan here on the next slide, but you can again see the wetlands that are in the creek that runs through the site. We'll have the new road. We think we can tie in right here. We really want to take advantage, have our clubhouse, pool overlooking the creek, try to have our units set back a little bit. Obviously, we have setbacks to abide by with Ronald Reagan. And yeah, just really try to take advantage of the uniqueness of the site. Quick look at our proposed site plan. Again, I'm sure we'll have a lot more conversation as we move through Plan Commission. This is all pretty preliminary. Quick look at our elevations. Some early conversations I had was earthy tones. We want to make sure that we have earthy tones. We'll have hardy, brick, stone. You can see the tuck under garages underneath. 4-story, again, that'll allow us to have the elevator product, which just elevates us a little bit more against our competitors. And then finally, here's a quick rendering that we've had done of the exterior of the building. And that's it. I'm open for questions.
Just a small reminder to council, make sure we keep our questions to the 5 criteria for rezonings. We'll open it up for any questions for the petitioner, comments. Microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Guess you need a microphone. When you mentioned challenging the soils, so it is a very unique property, and I think it's neat to think about how we could work with that area with the creek going through there. How would you see this with the soils? Are you talking line stabilization, or what kind of things would you see that you found in your early geo?
Sure. We're still trying to figure exactly how we'll do it. It'll probably be over excavation or some kind of piers. It'll be expensive. We're trying to work through the best option currently. Again, this is a lot of civil engineering that we're still trying to figure out that we'll probably have to work through as we move through Plan Commission.
Okay. And the reason I ask, I always like to see Avon, as you know, we have to be very protective of any waterways and of those areas to make it fit well and make it look just perfect and have a sensitivity to those environments. So that's the reason I'm asking that.
Sure.
I'm looking for the uniqueness and how that would work there. That would speak to one of the criteria there. I'll let others go. Go ahead.
I think the big thing for me is, the zoning change and what our comp plan shows there. We're thinking industrial, obviously. I think even, Ryan, you could probably speak to this, but when Ronald Reagan was first even discussed as a potential road going in, it's my understanding that there weren't supposed to be residential on that property anywhere along the corridor. And that was kind of an agreement that was made among the county, the state, the towns that lie along the Ronald Reagan. And so I know that there are some that have snuck in, if you will, but I think those were out of our jurisdiction. One was county approved. And I just want to be sensitive to the word that we gave when the Ronald Reagan was even in discussion before coming in. I think that's important. I think that funding was given with that caveat maybe attached to it. And so that's a concern for me, moving forward with any type of zoning change for that.
What's the comp plan call for this area and any stipulations in the Ronald Reagan overlay? Is that a Bill question?
Yeah, the comp plan question is probably a Bill question, but I think to Don's point, yeah, I think ultimately, I don't know that it was necessarily an in writing type agreement, but the goal of the Ronald Reagan Parkway was to be a generator of commercial, office, industrial type development. And especially in Avon, I think we've been really sensitive to it just because of the fact that we don't have a lot of other places. We have 100 South and we have along Ronald Reagan. That's kind of our opportunity to be in that 3% threshold or of taxes. So there are a couple of them that have come along. I think different towns have kind of taken different approaches to that. The county was kind of the overarching entity at the time. And again, being the ones who were building the road at that time. And the towns, some of them took some of those pieces of the Reagan overlay and some of them took a little bit of it. I think us and the county were the only two who fully brought that along with us. But Brownsburg, for the most part, has followed it. Plainfield's kind of done their own thing and kind of allowed some things in there that probably wouldn't have been allowed in Avon. But and there is some apartment complexes in a couple of spots as well. So.
Oops. Maybe if you could speak to the commercial part you made a reference to, that would, because it's a unique property, that's be interesting. Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. So we've got the back to site plan here. A little over 1 acre carve out on Ronald Reagan and Veterans. It's a corner lot. I think it'll be well. We've already gotten interest actually from our broker who we are purchasing this is representing the seller. She's already brought us 3 groups. We've turned them down. To be honest, we want to be very protective about who we put on our corner. as I'm sure you guys feel the same way. So yeah, we've got 1.1 acres right here. And again, that was early feedback. I completely understand the concern. You guys, it's tax increment, 3%. I fully understand. I did an initial feasibility study when we first looked at the site because that was initially my concern is I'm going to get run out by the industrial guys chasing the site. And what I've learned, and I included a letter from a land broker, and I've got some more feasibility studies that I'm working on. The challenge really is this. It's really hard. I really think that best use is multi because you could probably build one 100,000 square foot building here and maybe another 100,000 square foot building up here. I don't know industrial tax rates, but obviously 3%. I still think that on the multi, a project of this size, and we've got the fiscal analysis in the PUD application, I think the tax revenue generated would be 2 to 3 times what you could build on industrial. Now, I don't know about commercial. There are creative people out there, I'm sure they could figure this out, but especially with these soils up here, I think it would be hard to build industrial on the north side without doing significant site work or even filling a lot of this in. So I completely understand that concern. Again, that's why I think the highest and best use here is multi.
I would point back to my concerns come with comp plan and desirable use of the area. It's been our vision to, as Ms. Loudon pointed out, commercial and industrial along that corridor, and we've got very limited space, so we need to be tightly controlled over that. Again, comp plan doesn't call for residential in this area. That's it. If there aren't any further questions, we'll consider Cityscape introduced.
Great, thanks so much. Look forward
Thank
to
you.
moving forward in the process.
Thanks.
Oops, that tab. Next item on the agenda, I pulled it down too far. Consolidation petition. Ryan, I believe you're going to be speaking to this one.
Yeah, I'll introduce it. As you guys are aware, the town was presented with a petition of consolidation, and Julie forwarded that petition on to the county, which is what we were required to do for certification. And we did receive back a certification from the county that it met the threshold to be a valid petition. And so we just wanted to report that information to you guys. I think Dan's shared the steps in the process with you guys. So just wanted to provide that to you and see what next steps you guys may want to take.
I don't believe we need to take action tonight. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dan.
No, you can't take action tonight, but what you need to do is just, your next step would be to have a public hearing and then vote on a resolution to move consolidation forward. That's your next step.
Okay.
I would be for, moving forward with it. I don't know if we want to have discussion on that, but I think it'd be just perfect for the public to know the balance behind a physical study about what was happening. And I see value in us leading and taking that step. I know we could wait for the township, but I thought it'd be good for us to proceed. That's my personal opinion on that one, but.
Is there anything special to that public hearing? I know certain things we need like 10 days notice. Is this just a regular 48-hour notice, I believe?
No, you have to give the 10-day
5 days.
notice. Yeah, you have to give the notice.
5 days notice.
Yeah. You have to get notice 5 days prior, but you would want to allow time. You'd have to have the certain documents ready to go. But if you were to, you could put it on your next meeting or your first meeting in August. You can just schedule it, set it out, but you want to make sure you get proper notice.
Okay. And just so I'm clear, we could do the public hearing and the vote to move forward in that same meeting.
Correct. The resolution is merely a resolution saying that you believe that based upon that citizen petition, that you should move forward with a study of whether consolidation makes sense and whether it should go on the ballot. Ultimately, the citizens of Avon and the township decide, but these are very preliminary steps and kind of a long process. But now that you've received a verified citizens petition, this is, this is the action you need to take is you need to then vote whether you want to study that and engage the township or not.
I got one more question. I clarified, Julie, when did we receive this back from the county? It wasn't that long ago.
It took them a while. I think they were confused as to what letter I needed. But they initially said, you're good to go. Not long after we got that petition and I sent it to them, but I have the official letter last week
Okay.
from them that we got.
Is there a timeline on time that we have to take action after receiving that? Okay, so we're obviously still in that window. Okay. Are there any further questions for staff? I think all we're doing is introducing, and that's all we have to highlight, that that's been introduced at this time.
You're just making a record that the citizens petition you received has been verified by the voter registration office of Hendricks County. And that's what you're doing tonight, is making a record of that. So now the ball is in your court.
And I'm kind of wanting to jump forward on it, just say, as soon as we can. And the reason for the physical study, I want to know what impacts it's having for the schools and how we can make them whole and those type of things that, several years ago, that was a big issue. So I'd like to get those things right out to the public as soon as we can.
Absolutely. No other further questions. We'll show that petition's been introduced. Next item on the agenda, request for payment of equipment and software for police vehicles. Brian, you're speaking to this one?
Yes, sir. So in your packet, I believe you have a memo presented by Chief Stoops. This is a purchase request approval by the town council. You'll note the final purchase amount is $14,800. This is a purchase for a software component and some hardware components as well. And for so far as when we have investigations involving vehicles involved in crashes. This is a situation where we have hardware, software technologies that can extract crucial data from vehicles involved in accidents. This revenue would actually be reimbursed by the state of Indiana for a grant that we have won now for the 8th year in a row for our proactive policing initiatives. We purchased several items through these grants. Once we make this purchase, we submit a fiscal report in Q3 of 2022, and we'll receive those funds sometime in Q4 of 2022, which will be part of the additional appropriations back to our account lines that we'll work with Ms. Loker. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but the amount for approval exceeds $10,000 from the town manager and $5,000 from the chief of police. And so that's why we're here today.
Any questions for Brian?
And just a comment that with all the accidents we do have on the corridor, it's great to have this type of equipment so then they can go through it's like the black box on a vehicle now that has everything. It just helps on supporting what goes on for both insurance companies and for the police. So I think it's great. It's a good thing.
There are no further questions. Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the proposal for the Crash Data Group subscription and purchase and authorize the clerk treasurer. Is that?
Second.
We have a first and a second, but I've got a question. Do we need to include the amount in that motion?
As presented.
Okay. Very good. We have a first and a second. Julie, would you mind taking a roll call, please?
Aaron Teveba?
4.
Steve Eisenbarth?
4.
Don Loudon?
4.
Robert Pope?
4.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Next item on the agenda, Resolution 2022-10 fiscal plans for Patel Phase 2 annexation.
Yes, I'll introduce these. Part of the annexation process is the town council has to take into consideration the fiscal impact of that annexation. So Greg Garitos prepares that financial report. These in particular aren't very exciting because they're just individual properties. So they're pretty basic financial analysis, but they do require the town council consider it and pass a resolution if you agree with them. And then it does establish how then the town will provide, what services we'll provide and when we'll provide it. And so that kind of provides the guide for the staff on how we move forward. Happy to answer any questions. The first one is for the Patel property, which is off County Road 900 East.
Any questions for staff?
Wasn't he, wasn't there like one little parcel that was trailing behind? Is this for that parcel, combining it in with the other that we already approved?
That's correct. Yeah, if you guys recall, you actually did the larger piece of property. That's already done. So this one is for the smaller piece.
Okay.
No further questions? Entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 2022-10, which are the fiscal plans for the Patel Phase 2 annexation.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Julie, would you take roll call, please?
Robert Pope,
4.
Steve Eisenbarth,
Four.
Aaron Teveba,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Next item on the agenda, Resolution 2022-11, fiscal plans for property at 8759 East County Road, 200 North.
Yeah, and this is just another fiscal plan. This property is on County Road 200 North. And again, it's just an individual property owner, so it's a pretty small annexation area. I'm happy to answer any questions.
No questions.
Seeing head shaken, entertain a motion.
2022-10, right?
11.
11, okay. The fiscal plan for, I can't say that, annexation land. I propose that we accept it as presented.
We have a first.
Second.
I was about to say, I'll second. Dawn got the second in there. Julie, take roll call, please.
Aaron Teveba,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Steve Eisenbarth,
4.
Next item on the agenda is final reading ordinance 2022-19, Sycamore Preserve zoning amendment 2022-08. I understand they have requested to table this item on this agenda.
That is correct. The petitioner, his attorney wasn't able to make it, and so they asked to be tabled to a future agenda. So if the council agrees, it can just be tabled.
Agree.
Need a motion to
I'll make a
that.
motion that we table to the next agenda.
We have a first. I'll second. Julie, roll call, please.
Don Loudon,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Steve Eisenbarth,
4.
Aaron Teveba,
4.
Public hearing for annexation ordinance 2022-16 Patel Phase 2 annexation. I need to open it up for public hearing. All right, at 8:14 PM, we'll open the public hearing for the Patel Phase 2 annexation. If you'd like to speak, please come forward, state your name and address. Reminder, this is a public hearing for the Patel Phase 2 annexation only.
I'm Jennifer Howard. My address is 8809 Prairie Trail in Avon. And I just have some questions because you just kind of went over two issues, which is the same land that the Patel that you just did, and then the Sycamore is all that same land. So this is for the annexation that says that it's going to stay agriculture. But if I understand what you just were talking about in the 9.1 resolution, that will automatically make that an R2?
That's not correct.
That's not correct? Good.
Yes, that's correct. It will not change the zoning. The
Yes.
zoning is a different process.
Correct.
So the annexation is a separate process. They still have to change the zoning.
Okay, so it will go back to the zoning board again for neighbors that aren't happy with that zoning to be able to speak?
Purely, this item is purely annexing that land into the town, nothing more. What you're speaking to is zoning the property separately. That's an entirely different process. And right now, public hearing is purely on the annexation, should that property be included in the town. Nothing more.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Robert, may I?
Yes, sir. Always.
Ma'am, I maybe I'll explain it. What happens when the property is annexed? Our policy is that state law requires that when you annex property, you designate the zoning. Avon's policy is to bring it in and keep it as is. So the annexation ordinance says that it would be agricultural in the town.
I think the document says that you guys will be posting some type of a 30-day notice.
I-
And then the 9.1 says that that land, if annexed, would become R2.
No, I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at the ordinance right here.
Okay.
And it says that I'm just reading now, the property is currently zoned agricultural in the county and shall be zoned agricultural in the town.
Can you look at 9.1 just to certify for my own reasoning that page 7 doesn't say, no, page 4 doesn't say that it becomes R2?
I don't know what 9.1 is. I don't know what you're referring to.
It's the resolution Patel phase 2. You guys just talked about it.
It's our agenda item, forgive me, it's resolution 2022-10, the fiscal plans for.
Oh, the fiscal
Patel
plan.
annexation.
Well, the fiscal plan, that resolution doesn't control the zoning. Yeah, that's a good question you ask. I mean, what happens, and some towns do it differently. Some towns do change them at this stage, but the town of Avon doesn't do that. And that's, of course, as Robert said, if they want to go from agriculture R2, then they have to go through our plan commission on a rezone, and then also through the town council, who has the final say on any rezone.
Okay, 'cause my husband was at the last meeting for the Sycamore, which was the 10.1 that you had just done. And there was a statement at that meeting that said that if it was already R2, that Sycamore would have just went straight to plating. And so that's what my concern is, that if 10.2 is saying it's going to say agriculture and then 9.1 changes it to R2, then the 10.1 Sycamore seems like it would just be approved. So that's just where my concern was.
I understand.
Anyone else for public hearing? Seeing no one else come forward, at 8:18, we'll close public hearing for annexation ordinance 2022-16. Next item on the agenda, public hearing for annexation ordinance 2022-17, annexation of property at 8759 East County Road 200 North. We'll open that public hearing at 8:18. Same thing, please come forward to the mic, state your name and address. Seeing no one come forward, at 8:19, we'll close that public hearing. Next item on the agenda is the second of 2 public comment opportunities. You may comment on items on the agenda that are not a public hearing or on a specific matter within the council's jurisdiction. Please come forward to the microphone, state your name and address, and limit your time to 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Tim Pettigrew. I live at 8854 Prairie Trail in Prairie Manor. I'd like to suggest that the town of Avon improve their notifications for different zoning projects. You put up signs saying there's a meeting going to take place. It doesn't have the date on there when the meeting is. It doesn't have what zoning number it is. And so if you added that to the sign in big enough letters that you could see it driving 30 miles an hour, that would be a wonderful thing. So trying to find projects is very hard. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. No one else coming forward. We'll close that section of public comment. Next opportunity for council comment.
To the gentleman's comment, don't we have like the code that you could scan when they have a sign in the front that they can get all the information? Would that be an answer that might help him, that if we posted those where they could, scan a QR code?
Yeah, I think that's something we're working on.
Okay.
I mean, I guess there's lots of different ways. Adjacent property owners get notices. We post signs. And as you know, Daniel just created a new link on our website as well. So people can always go to our website and find that information. We understand it's not, just like anything we do, it's hard to communicate that to people if people don't want to actually come and look for it. But I think we've provided ample opportunities in different ways that people can get that information if they use them. And as Jared just mentioned, Public Works is doing the QR codes. The planning department is making that shift to do the same thing. They don't have it yet, but when they get it, those QR codes will still take you to the website. So that it's still taking you to the same place that if you just go to the website, that you can find that information as well. And that's that new piece that we shared with the council that Daniel has created, that new space that it's really easy for the public to see all the different locations, everything that's being proposed going on in town. So I would encourage anybody watching or paying attention who wants to know more, go to the website and look at that information. It makes it much easier. Yeah,
That's always good.
avongov.org/planning dashboard.
Yep. That's always good. And on the signs, I can understand the frustration if you don't know what's on that sign to know where at least to find it. So good comment, Mr. Pettigrew. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thanks, Steve. Dawn, Aaron, either of you? I'm good, thank you. Next item, legal counsel report. Mr. Taylor.
Nothing for you tonight. You should receive some written correspondence from us regarding an update on a case. Just that there's been a hearing, there will be a hearing in September on the Duke Energy matter. We're going to have summary judgment argument. I reported you earlier, but that now has been scheduled. So we'll have a chance to make our argument on that day, and then we would expect a decision by the court on our motion for summary judgment, within 30 days after that. Duke did not file a motion. It's our motion, so we'll keep you apprised of that. But I think Mr. Manette was sending that out today to you, probably a hard copy, along with our brief that we filed, so you have some depth of information. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, council calendar. Ryan.
Yeah, a couple quick things. Some of you may have gotten an email today from the library. Steve and his staff have done a fantastic job and actually helped find or put up placards directing people to the library. And apparently the library has been trying to get those since they went in that location. And because it used to be State Road 267, the state would not do it for them. So Steve and his staff have worked with them to do that. And so they're going to unveil those on the 21st at 10:30 a.m. If anybody would like to show up and get your photo snapped with some cool new signs.
Laurel is over herself over this sign. She is ecstatic that she has this. She has been working towards this for 30 years, I believe. So she's very excited.
Yep. So we'd love for you guys to join us for that. And then your next meeting is July 28th at 7 p.m. And I do have one request. It is that time of another quarter where I need you guys to leave your tablets so we can get them all updated as well. So if you wouldn't mind leaving them with me, we'll get them updated and get them back to you as quickly as possible.
All right.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.